Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is episode 9 of our hybrid work with Microsoft Teams webcast, and I'm your host, Stephen Rose. Thanks for joining us. We have an awesome day today. We've got an interview with Jeff Teper. We're going to sit down with Kaushal Mehta to discuss a brand new Teams program that you're absolutely going to want to check out, and we're going to show you the latest devices from Logitech. So let's get started. Our first segment today is with Jeff Teper. He's the Corporate Vice President for Microsoft 365. I've known Jeff now for several years. I worked with him when I was on the OneDrive team. He is an amazing guy. He's been with Microsoft for over 28 years. He oversees Office apps and Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive and Stream, and has been is the father of SharePoint. So he is someone who absolutely understands collaboration like no one else. So I want to thank everybody who sent in questions to ask Jeff. So let's take a look at the interview that I had a chance to do with him yesterday. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Great to see you.
Good, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing great. It has been so much fun. You and I worked together quite extensively when I was on OneDrive, and I'm now on Teams, and I'm absolutely loving it, and it's such an exciting product. And you are absolutely in the center of the whirlwind that is Teams and Office and all that great stuff. So I thought it'd be great to ask you a few questions I have and a bunch that the audience has. Are you ready?
I am. Let's fire away.
So the vision of building Teams as a platform and not as an app, how did you get to that point to see it differently? And I know your work, and you are the father of SharePoint, and SharePoint was pretty much that, but knowing to bring that over and how that was going to work, I would love to kind of understand how you went through that.
Yeah, I don't know if most people know, early on, I started out as a developer evangelist for Microsoft. And one of the things we did early in my career is be part of launching Visual Basic, including Visual Basic for Office. So the idea that you'd have these horizontal tools, but that a developer ecosystem could tailor them for different business processes was something I saw many years ago. And so is when we went and did SharePoint. Same idea. Of course, it's an application that works out of the box, but people can tailor it, customize it, workflow sites, and so forth. And so the Teams team already was on that journey with Teams as a platform, but I was just able to bring, experience and passion for the space of let's make Teams really easy to use for people to collaborate without writing a line of code. But if you want to tailor it for a hospital, for retail, for manufacturing, let's go get those business applications integrated as collaborative workflows. So, and of course, our ecosystem, our community that advocates for Microsoft 365, that really resonates with them.
Absolutely. And we spent our last show, we talked about Oakdale quite a bit, and Oakdale really sort of takes that to the next level about bringing those tools right there inside and kind of moving it forward. So what's been the response to Oakdale so far?
Yeah, the idea that you can take a rapid way of building collaborative applications in the workflow around content, whether the content's in Microsoft 365 or some line of business system, and then tie that into the experience and into channels and chats and tabs and so forth, really resonates with people, because people want solutions that are tailored to their need, but they want incredible time to value. And so Oakdale combined with Teams is exactly what they're looking for. And so it's early days, but I can tell you, since we've gotten this out for people to try, it's just hockey stick. I was looking at a list the other day of our top customers for Teams by number of Power Apps they had integrated with Teams. And we've got companies with dozens and some with hundreds of Power Apps that they've built integrated with Teams. And we think Oakdale is just going to expand that even further.
That's awesome. I know in the past, and I've been involved in these meetings, and they're tremendous at the, when you start to look at the next year and what engineering is going to do and how to prioritize, you, of course, spend a lot of time looking at things like user voice and votes and how that comes. We take a look at top customers and what they're asking for, and then what it takes for customers to move from third-party products over to ours. So my question to you is, how do you take a step back? One of the things I love is you said that engineering is like a piece of string. If you pull it this way to do something, something has to fall off. So how do you balance that, evolutionary features that you have to move things forward versus revolutionary features, things that people aren't expecting that will delight them or surprise them or open up new business opportunities? How do you approach that?
Yeah, no, I've always believed you need a portfolio of investments. We've seen this in Teams. You remember this in Windows and OneDrive. That the most important thing is the fundamentals: performance, reliability, security, etc. And that is by far the biggest investment we're making in Teams and Microsoft 365. Some of it's under the surface, and you never see the blog post around it, but that is the biggest investment. But we also need to do a lot of things on sort of end-to-end scenarios, tying together Microsoft 365. So, picking one that's close to home for us, document sharing in Teams between the OneDrive team and the Teams team.
Right.
That's making that really seamless end-to-end as a focus area. But then in our portfolio, we've got to have to delight customers, to address unmet needs, to frankly leapfrog what else is out there. You've got to have something in your portfolio that's a new approach to an implicit customer problem. And so the one that we hit on that's probably our best example is Together Mode, where we saw early in the days of work from home with COVID that people were losing engagement and feeling isolated. And we thought, gee, wouldn't it be fun to put them into one virtual space? And so we did that. And some people said, hey, that was great, I love that. And other people said, you should have done feature X instead. And so I think, I always approach it and look at once a team's of a certain size, do we have most of the team on fundamentals? Are we completing the end-to-end scenarios across Microsoft customers want from us? And then do we have enough capacity to be innovative, to do things that nobody's actually asked us for explicitly, but the technology makes possible, and we can supply, delight, and surprise people.
Awesome. All right, we got some questions from folks who have written in. We got a ton. I picked some of my favorites. I'll give you an easy one. Where do you get your teal shoes from?
I went to Vans Custom Shop, and it's funny. I ordered both the SharePoint teal ones, and I have Teams purple ones now. The OneDrive ones, I scanned in the OneDrive logo and tiled it. And so that was the one where there was a little form that you had to fill out about whether you own the copyright to this. And I said, I guess I kind of do. So
I think you're okay on that one. All right. So the rest of you cannot go make OneDrive shoes or Team shoes, but you can do the color. So feel free. Just don't be scanning our logos.
I think when I went with the Teams one, they had the stock colors were close enough to the Teams blurple. Yeah. That the SharePoint ones, I actually had to scan in the SharePoint logo and extract that color to get it just right, because that's how obsessive I am about this stuff.
But I appreciate that. It's that obsessiveness that goes across everything you do, and it is one of the reasons why we have hundreds of millions of customers using this product every single day. So you chat with a lot of customers, and one of the topics that comes up a lot that I get from folks, and they wanted to know how you answer this to a customer, which is, how do you deal with Teams sprawl?
Yeah. It's a tricky, it's interesting. Again, there's some things where I saw the patterns in SharePoint, and now I see them in Teams, which is, that people create lots of collaborative spaces. And at some level, that's okay, because that's kind of the nature of work, that you work on lots of small projects in certain companies or organizations, and they go away, and that's okay. And so what we talked about, you and I, is we give customers guidance for how to structure their Teams usage. Right. That if it's a durable work group, create a team and then channels for different topics or sub-projects. That's what we do in the Teams org. We have one big Teams team, and then we have channels for engaging with customers, our data science channel, our design channel, and so forth. And so we might have a little channel sprawl, but we don't actually have much team sprawl because we've thought about it. And so what we've got best practices out there we've put, but we'd encourage companies, bigger companies that would have this problem, create a internal user group or community of best practices where you've got somebody from IT who understands the guidance coming out from us. And maybe from different business groups, you get a representative set of users. So users in IT can collaborate on what the best practice is for when to create a new team. And because it'll be different in a consulting firm like Accenture versus a pharmaceutical company versus a retailer and so forth. Some will make sense that a consulting firm will create one per client engagement, or a pharmaceutical company might create one per drug development. Right.
So yeah, it makes sense to think of it like projects, but I agree. And I think a big part of it is education, educating your users on, hey, here are some guidelines. Make sure you search for this first, make sure there's not already a group created, and kind of go from that route. And then if there's not, go ahead and do it. And here's when it's absolutely fits in. So yeah.
Yeah, but get a group of people together to share best practices and write them down. Make the, 5-slide deck or the 2-page memo of best practices of how you're going to use Teams and share it internally. Absolutely. Again, our general guidance is good, but every company is different, so you need to tune it a bit to your
Absolutely. Plus, if they're coming off of a different product, there's a whole nother set of learning that has to go with that too. But that does give you a great opportunity to change the way that you look at the product and moving forward too, which is great.
Yeah. As you know, one of the things in our sort of history together, sometimes people will come to us from a file folder like product, a file server or a Dropbox or a box. And so we put in our migration tools just recently the ability to map those to a Teams team, because you might say, hey, we have this big giant file share and there are all these folders for project X, project Y, and the conversations were disconnected from the content. Now's the time for us to map those folders in a, frankly, more limited collaboration solution into Teams so you can have the conversations and the content side by side.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, next question. It's a two-parter. What is the future of private channels? The creation of a separate site for each private channel is causing concern for SharePoint oversight and compliance folks, but we don't want to turn off a feature that is helping adoption.
Yeah, I think, private channels are obviously here to stay. They were one of the most passionately requested things in user voice after the first release of Teams went out. And so I think the concept is it is durable and will be part of Teams forever. If you've come to us with a long SharePoint history, you maybe have some angst about this site collection concept, because it used to be a scarce resource. Yeah. When we re-architected SharePoint for the cloud, we made it possible to have, tens, hundreds of thousands of site collections, et cetera. And so I would tell people not to certainly give us feedback about the admin tools you need, but don't think about it the way you thought about it in, say, 2010. The reason we modeled all this stuff on site collections is because it gives you a level of isolation that people want from private channels. People told us they didn't want just a channel with limited security permissions. They really wanted something isolated. And so that mapped to site collections, and just we can, again, make hundreds of thousands, and eventually we'll make, millions and tens of millions of site collections, and it won't be a problem.
Okay. Well, there you go. So get up with the times. Look how
yeah.
Can you provide any detail on webinar registration process for Teams? We need this feature in order to move a large number of users from WebEx to Teams, which we love to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot of integrations for Teams events with various streaming services, various registration platforms, commerce platforms. We've published those out there. And we'll continue to enhance it because people for these kinds of events want to mix and match things. But for sure, we need a first-party solution. And so we announced at Ignite that we are going to be bringing to market a more complete webinar solution around Teams. And I'd say you'll see that in the next 1 to 2 quarters from us. Might not, probably not make this calendar year because we're coming up in the last few weeks, but not long after that, we'll get that out in preview.
Awesome. During your career at Microsoft, what is the part or program that you are most proud of?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I would have to say Office 365. When we said we were going to take our server products and refactor them as a cloud offering, make them available to every customer, and change our business model, change our engineering model from shipping every 2 years to literally shipping every day, and so we could get innovations faster to customers. That was hard. It was really hard. We started that, I think the major news around it was 2008 at the SharePoint conference. We announced it, and then 2011, June, we announced Office 365, which really mainstreamed it. Yeah. But it took, honestly, 3-4 years after that. So, and it was one where some people got it very early and said, what became the cloud was going to be the obvious thing. But there was also a lot of skeptics. A lot of experts who said, I don't know, people won't want to run their own servers forever kind of thing. And I just, we had the vision, we had the grit, it was hard. And the fact, I have this slide that I use in my events in the last few months that says, we built this together. That if you think about our ability to scale teams to now 115 million daily active users, billions of meeting minutes, well over 250 million Office 365 monthly active users. We really did build this with our customers, that we started with our server products. We re-architected them for an elastic cloud service. We had this rounds of feedback. And so I'd look back on that and say, yeah, that wasn't easy. That wasn't obvious. There were skeptics, but we did it. And when COVID hit and we needed to be there for 5x, 10x scale, we were there. So
it's been amazing how different a place we are now than we were a year ago, and how we put big bets on that and said, yeah. And then all somebody came back to us going, oh, yeah, we need to do this. And we need to do it in about 2 weeks. And we're like, okay, yeah, let's get it going. We got the resources. We're ready to go. And your team and your divisions did an amazing job on stepping up to make sure that all the promises that we made, were there and that people saw it. It's just been amazing to hear how impactful it has been for folks, and how people, as we've always said, you can work from anywhere on any device securely, and they're doing it. And we've brought that to fruition, and that's been absolutely, one of the prouder moments that I've certainly had here at Microsoft.
Yeah, it's really rewarding, whether I'm talking to a teacher who's telling me how they're thrilled that they're able to keep their classes going, or the leadership at Accenture that now has over 500,000 consultants around the world using Teams for all their meetings and client engagements, and everybody in between. It's really a privilege to get to work on what we work on. And of course, we're far from done, but hopefully people see that we're listening to the feedback and we're moving very quickly.
No, absolutely. You get tons of questions on your guitars, and you never get to answer them because you're always doing keynotes and stuff. So take a moment. Tell us what you have behind you. What do you got? I see the Fender and I see the Rick. So take a moment, because everybody's like, is he going to talk about them? And you never do.
Okay, so the red one is a Rickenbacker 12-string guitar. The Beatles started playing with Rickenbackers, and George Harrison got a 12-string that he, I think, played first on a Hard Day's Night. And lots of people from Oasis to Tom Petty, have adopted that guitar. It's because it's got 12 strings. It's got this chimey sound that's really unique. That
amazing jangle that the Byrds had. So many bands had.
Exactly. That the Byrds, even though the Beatles popularized that guitar, the Byrds are the Ticket to Ride is another one where you hear that jangle played off that guitar.
Absolutely.
Next to it is an Epiphone Casino. The Beatles got those guitars for, and by the way, these are recent models. These are not original. They're the same guitar, but made a few years ago as opposed to. And so the Beatles got the Epiphone Casinos for Revolver, which was sort of a breakthrough album. John Lennon painted his psychedelic a little bit later, then sanded it down. And so if you see the video of Hey Jude or the video of Get Back, Let It Be, where he's playing Get Back on the Abbey Road roof, he's playing a sanded down guitar like that one. It's a hollow body guitar, so it sounds great, whether it's plugged into an amp or a raw. And then 1960 model, not made in 1960, Gibson Les Paul, beautiful, finish to it, beautiful sound. Many famous guitarists play that guitar. Slash, Guns N' Roses,
sure.
Jimmy Page,
all the greats. I mean,
yeah.
Let's face it, it is the guitar choice for Rick Nielsen. There's so many who play that, which is great. What is this? If you could play any Beatles song just beautifully the way that you want, which one do you wish that your fingers would work the way you want it to?
I probably spend more time playing "Here Comes the Sun" than any other song. I love that song. If you listen to it carefully, it's the whole. I totally geeked out. There's this book called "Recording the Beatles" that talked about the studio configuration, all the instruments. The Beatles first brought in a Moog synthesizer for Abbey Road, and so a lot of the different sounds that you hear slightly in the background, livening up the guitar, are basically their first use of synthesizers. So that's one. It's a fun sound. You sort of, as you know, you put the capo on the, I forgot, the 7th or 8th fret to give it a really high pitch, and it sounds great. And so every little detail of how George Harrison played that, I sort of try to rehearse. I'm not there, but that's one that I focus on a lot.
And I will say to folks, and I have all these basses. I'm not that great a bass player, but what I love about it is because I'm not good, I have to try so hard. And when I get stuck in a problem and I really get caught up at work, playing it for a half hour and really focusing on something I want to play and doing it is great. And it really clears up my brain and allows me to go back to the logical stuff really well. Do you find the same kind of thing?
No, totally. And hopefully on your bass, you play my favorite bass Beatles song is Day Tripper.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's got a classic
I'm trying to do paperback writer, and it's really tough. Some of the fingering's really rough on that one.
Yeah, that's a song that is an underestimatedly amazing song. It sounds like, well, whatever, that's like a pop song, and no, that song shows how good musicians they were.
Absolutely,
and vocal harmonies as well.
The whole song is amazing. We'll have to do a show on our favorite bands.
This is probably, a lot of people have said, "Oh my God, get back to Teams or tuning out."
I think there's a whole new audience. People saying, "I've been thinking about taking up an instrument. I'm going to do it now." If Jeff and Steve are doing it, count me in. I know how busy you are, so thanks so much for your time, Jeff. This was awesome, and it was great for you to answer the questions and to learn a little bit more about this. This is our last show for the season, so we'd love to chat with you again maybe in about 6 to 8 months, see how things maybe after the next Ignite.
Great. Love to hear the feedback on the podcast. It was super, super fun, Steve.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Thanks.
I had such a great time talking with Jeff. I love his passion for everything he does, including his music. And if you watch that closely, you could just see Jeff's face light up when he talks about his guitars. I've had many of you ask me about my basses. So I have a just kind of a throwaway acoustic bass, but I have if it'll come off my stand, hang on. I have a nice Fender. This is really heavy, big neck, so I like that for a lot of the kind of fun lowdown stuff. For things that are a little bit more delicate, I have the Yamaha, which just has awesome sound, and it's a lot of fun to play with. And my baby, this is a 40th anniversary bass from Rush. This was a 50th birthday gift. It was a limited edition that the band offered, so a little bit about my basis. So thanks for those of you who have asked. Our next interview is with Kaushal Mehta. He is our principal program manager here at Microsoft, and I'm excited because he is going to talk about a new Teams preview program. So if you were watching Message Center last week, you might have saw a message coming up going, what is this? I'm going to go to the interview so you can hear Kaushal talk about it and what's going to be coming. And I know you're going to be really excited. So let's roll the interview with Kaushal. I'm excited to announce that Kaushal has joined me today to talk a little bit about an announcement that I think is going to make everybody happy. Kaushal, how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you, Stephen?
I am doing great. Take a moment and tell us about your role here at Microsoft.
Sure. My name is Kaushal Mehta. I'm a principal PM manager here in Teams Engineering Group. I head the TAP program for our engineering group. It's technology adoption program. So we work with customers on our pre-release validations and feedback programs.
So basically, we give certain customers and very special customers early access to stuff. Now, the number one thing that I heard at Ignite, and we announced some really, really cool features, is I want to play with that and I want to get to it. And you have a great announcement that's going to make those folks happy. So why don't you kind of walk us through that?
Correct. Yeah. So for the past few years, we have been working with customers, with a very small number of customers through our TAP program. And the feedback really was that we couldn't scale enough to cover all the customers. So within the next few weeks, we are going to announce a public preview offering for Teams. And with that, we are also going to announce channel naming alignment across Office and Windows. So with this change, our customers, specifically insiders, will find similar names and expectations for similar channels across Windows, Office, and Teams. And with this, our Teams customers will also be able to preview our pre-release features. It will be a self-opt-in program. There is no requirement. There is no participation criteria. IT admins will be able to control the policy and will be able to assign which users should be allowed to see the pre-release features.
This is great. So this is going to allow IT pros and developers to be able to test features early, to get in there, to actually play with them. And we also say if you have a group of early adopters within your company, it's great to give them the early versions of Windows, the early versions of Office, and now Teams, so that they can start to play with those features and see how it's going to impact users across the organization. So we're going to be bringing that to folks. So how can folks learn more? I know we're not saying that does not start today. It's going to hit in the next few weeks. But where can folks learn more about that when it's the right time?
Yep, great question. So just last Friday, we released the Message Center post announcing that we'll be doing this middle of November. And throughout the month, the changes will be rolling out. So the policy change will be rolling out at the same time, and then the client bits will be getting updated as well.
Awesome. And I know we'll have a tech community post also that will dig into this and walk folks through that. So there you go. A chance for all of you who've been saying, I can't wait to play with XYZ feature, no matter what it is, you're going to get a chance to do it early. So thank you, Kaushal. Thanks to the engineering teams who've been hearing this feedback that you're going to give folks the same level of access that they currently have with Windows and Office. I'm super excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
So Kaushal and I chatted, as you saw. He did let me know this morning that program will be available right at the end of this month or beginning of December. So certainly keep an eye out for that. If you're not familiar with the Teams Tech Community blog, you can go to aka.ms/teams-tech blog when that becomes live. So we're really excited to bring that TAP program, the earliest access to see all those cool new features much earlier to you, which is great. For our last segment, before we jump into it, I do want to thank all of our unboxing sponsors this season, Polycom, Bose, Jabra, Logitech, Acer, and Dell. And you can catch all of those videos in our extras area. The folks at Logitech sent us the newest version of the Brio Webcam, which has a great new price point, which I'm really excited about, and their new Zone wireless headset. So I had a chance to play with those and do an unboxing. So let's take a look at that footage. All right. Our good friends at Logitech have sent me two devices this week. One of these is already my favorite. It is the Logitech Brio Webcam. I love this webcam. It is really nice. It's got great feet, so it hangs on to your monitor really nicely. But what it is all about is the picture. This is a 4K Ultra HD with 5x zoom, autofocus. It supports HDR on what they call white light 3. It's got a 65, 78, and 90 field of view, and it's fully certified for Windows Hello, which is great. So you can turn off your internal laptop webcam, close the lid, and every time you walk up, have your PC automatically recognize you and log you right in. Of course, it's fully certified for Microsoft Teams, and it does work on a Mac. Of course, the Windows Hello feature won't work. And it does come with a privacy screen if you'd like to go ahead and have one. Now, what's really great about this is I have bought mine about a year ago, and it was pretty expensive. The great thing is the price on these is now down to $199, and I will tell you, it's absolutely one of the best webcams that you can buy. It's what I use. It's when you see my show, what I'm using, so I highly encourage you to check it out. Sometimes they are a bit on back order. Logitech assures me they're working on this and are making them as quickly as they can. The other thing is something brand new. This is the Zone Wireless headset, and what's great about this is it's super light. This is only 6.4 ounces. It has a swing down boom that works either way, and they have it set up where if you want, you can simply, if you want to mute your call, flip the boom up, and then when you're ready to talk, flip it back down, or you can use the mute button. Up and down, and you'll notice right there, dedicated Teams button, which is great, so you can answer your Teams calls directly here. Volume up, volume down. Full ANC, we're looking at about 15 hours of talk time and a full charge in about 2 hours. Bluetooth 5. You have your Bluetooth pairing button. They look really nice. I love the idea of this, the cable sort of being wrapped up in this sort of Alcantara sort of fabric. But the thing that I really, really love about these is that once you fold them up, oops, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. Once you fold them up, you can stick them on a Q wireless charge pad and charge them right up. And I absolutely love that. Now, I went out and bought a wireless charge pad. I already had one. They run about 15 bucks, but it's great that you don't have to sit there and plug in the USB-C cable. You can just put it right down on the same charger that perhaps you're already using for another device and charge them right up. It does come with a dongle, and they have one called the unifying dongle that allows you to connect up to 6 Logitech devices. The regular dongle, of course, allows you to connect up. And one other thing I really love about this is that they have both a desktop and a mobile companion app rather than one or the other. So that is the Zone Wireless headset, the Logitech Brio from Logitech. Great stuff from them. And if you're looking to work on Teams and look good and sound good, these are 2 great devices for you. Great stuff from Logitech. They also sent me their new Meetup Room system, which I've not had a chance to set up yet. I just got it, but I will. And my goal is to perhaps even record some shows from this in January. So really excited to get this set up here on my big TV over in the corner. Come to you next season for that. So this is our last show of the season. We'll be back in January with all new episodes talking about all the great new team stuff leading up to Ignite in the spring. Of course, if you have any comments, questions, show ideas, you can contact me at Stephen L. Rose on Twitter. We want to thank you all for joining us this season. Before we close out, I do want to take a moment and recognize great friend of the show and a close personal friend of mine. Chris Jackson did pass away last week. It was a really, really rough week for all of us here on the show. Chris has been on several times. He's been a friend of mine for 12 plus years. We've traveled the world together, and losing him, I know, is just affecting everybody in the community. He was well loved. He was a great guy. And it's hard to talk about this, but we did get a chance to put together a quick little video in memorial to him, and we'll also put up a link for the Chris Jackson Memorial Scholarship Fund if you'd like to check that out to keep him alive. But we want to thank Chris for his time on the show, and we'll miss him. So we'll see you in January. Thanks so much for joining, and stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.